Most of us have been unwilling to admit we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think he's bodily and mentally different from his fellows. Therefore, it's not surprising that our drinking careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove that we can drink like other people. The idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy his drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. The persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it into the gates of insanity or death. We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. This is the first step in recovery. The delusion that we're like other people, or presently may be, has to be smashed. We alcoholics are men and women who have lost the ability to control our drinking. We know that no real alcoholic ever recovers control. All of us felt at times we were regaining control, but such intervals, usually brief, were inevitably followed by still less control, which led in time to pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. We are convinced to a man that alcoholics of our type are in the grip of a progressive illness. Over any considerable period, we get worse, never better. What do you mean I'm different from other people? I'm no different than anybody else. I'm not an abnormal drinker. What are you talking about? I enjoy drinking. I'm not hurting anybody. I can quit whenever I want. Look, I'm not trying to change you. Why are you trying to change me? There's a lot more of those kinds of things that were said along the way before I got sober. Unwilling to admit that we're different from our fellows. Unwilling to admit that our drinking was a problem. You know, for me, I had the hardest time connecting the problems that I had in my life with my drinking. How could my drinking have anything to do with all the problems that I had in my life? I didn't see the connection. I certainly do now. 15 years into this sobriety thing without one single contact with law enforcement. I'll be darned. Interesting how that worked. No, I was in denial for a long time. That whole, like, I can quit anytime I want, I just don't want to kind of attitude. And what's this got to do with my drinking? You know, it's not like I had a DUI, you know. That reading ended with, it never gets better. And it's true, it doesn't. The disease of alcoholism is progressive. We know that now. It's actually pretty obvious when you think about it. Alcoholism is progressive. And one of the things that I have learned through multiple relapses, unfortunately, the thing that I learned, and I proved to myself, that yes, alcoholism is progressive, but so are the consequences of my drinking. They always got worse. They never got better. But you know, one of the things that it says in that chapter is, why don't you try some controlled drinking? Bearing in mind what we've told you. And, you know, as a new alcoholic, that was all I heard out of that paragraph was, why don't you try some controlled drinking? Step over to your nearest bar room, you know. Okay. I had to develop a strong enough desire to stay sober. When I first came to AA, there wasn't a strong enough desire to stay sober. Tradition 3 says the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. And I didn't qualify, not for a number of years. So how did I wind up with 15 years of sobriety? First of all, that was done one day at a time. Second of all, I had to develop a desire to stop drinking. And how do you develop a desire to stop drinking? Keep drinking. You'll wind up with a desire to stop drinking. Because of the progressiveness of alcoholism, things will get worse, not better. And when things get worse, all of a sudden, we become willing. Pain is an awesome motivator. That time in early recovery, when I was like on the fence about am I or am I not an alcoholic, that's kind of a tough era. At this point, I've become aware of the fact that my drinking is causing problems in my life. It took me quite a while to get to that point, to realize that it was causing problems in my life. And so once I came to that realization, well, what do I do about it? Well, I already had a family member in AA. It was my father. And even though I had sworn that I wasn't going to be like him, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I wound up being just like him. In fact, probably a little worse. I know my dad had some legal problems, but nothing like I did. You know, that denial hung in there for the longest time. And when you hang on to the denial, you're postponing recovery. If I had taken hold of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous that first time that I came in, I'd be celebrating more like 30 years instead of 15. I don't suggest that to any of you. That's a very difficult way to get recovery. Yeah, life was pretty hard back in those days. When I finally surrendered. That's what it took, was surrender. Just throw up my hands. I'm done, man. I'm done. I can't do this anymore, and I don't know how to undo what I've already done. Well, that was when growth was given an opportunity. In this program, we say you got to surrender to win. I have come to love recovery. And not just because of the gifts that it's given me. I love to watch other people recover as well. It's kind of a turn on. You know, to see somebody come in that's, I mean, they're just destitute, man. They're hurting. And within a year or two, they're bright-eyed. They're back to work. They're maybe working on relationships at home. You know, things are going well for them. That's wonderful to watch. It really, really is. I guess my message this morning is kind of jumbled. Like me. A bit jumbled. You know, if you find yourself on that fence of am I or am I not an alcoholic, I'll give you a little piece of advice, and you can take it however you want. But people who are not alcoholics don't sit around wondering if they're an alcoholic. They just don't. Only alcoholics sit around wondering if they're alcoholic. So if you're experiencing denial, denial can be a killer. Denial sent me back out there for another 15 years. 15 years that I would love to get back, but I can't. Time is one of those things that once it's gone, it's gone. And that's why I guess, being in recovery, learning to live in the moment, experiencing this beautiful moment is so important. It's so important. I've talked on here about postponing happiness, where we get into this thing where we say, whenever, when we buy the house, then we can be happy. Or, when we have kids, we can be happy. Or, when the kids move out, then we can be happy. What's wrong with being happy right here, right now? Why wait until all of these things happen? Live in the moment and be happy just the way things are. Practicing acceptance and, all of these things that come through being in recovery. They are major, major gifts of life. And I don't want anybody to miss out on it. You guys have a wonderful day. And again, I will see you the next time that I do a video. And it more than likely will be somewhere here in Florida near a body of water. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.